Namaste, Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat, Jai Samvidhan. Wishing you all a very happy Babasaheb Jayanti. Today I am going to present before you all a topic which brings out the geniuses of Babasaheb. It shows his deepest level thinking for the country, his tough character, and his invincible will to come out of great situations successfully. This is regarding a very complex legal problem that rose before India and how everyone was helpless before it and how it posed a mammoth problem in the smooth sailing of India's independence. It was a situation of political deadlock and nobody knew how to come out of it. Then Babasaheb rose to the occasion and came out with brilliant solutions to the problem. This great contribution of Babasaheb is of course not famous, usually not discussed, and remains neglected in the mainstream discussion. However, it needs to be brought up and we should learn how to come out of an almost impossible situation. So today I am going to talk on the topic of Paramountcy and a claim of the Indian states to be independent. We all know that the British ruled India for nearly 200 years. But later on, due to the continuous freedom struggle from all the corners of the country and due to the global problems, the British were unable to control things. So they decided to leave India. They had to transfer all the power to the Indian people, that is to the interim government, which consisted mainly of the Congress and the Muslim League. To facilitate this process, they sent a three-membered mission known as the Cabinet Mission to settle down the things and to have dialogues with the Indian leaders. The three members were Lord Patrick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps, and Lord A.V. Alexander. While transferring the power, they had to ensure that the future Indian government will run according to a constitution that will ensure equality for all and will protect all its minorities. So the negotiation was going on well. However, the Indians received a rude shock when the cabinet mission declared that they cannot transfer paramountcy to the Indian government. The main hurdle was posed by paramountcy that made a huge obstruction in the smooth sailing of Indian independence. Now, what is this paramountcy? One important thing we must know that there were two main areas under British control. Now let us look at this map of India. As we can see, the blue colored region are the areas known as the provinces. These areas were under direct British rule and the yellow colored region were the numerous Indian states. These states were ruled by various princes and kings. For the provinces, there was no problem. That was easily transferable. But the problem was of that of the Indian states. What was the problem? We must look at the way the British conquered India. They captured some areas directly by their sheer force and established their rule. However, there were many kings that were ready to accept the suzerainty of the British king. That is, they expressed their loyalty to him. They expressed their loyalty to him and they were ready to accept him as their master. The only thing that they wanted in return was to rule their kingdom. The British had no qualms with this system. Even though the princes were free to rule their subjects and there was no interference in daily affairs, but the ultimate power rested with the British. They were regularly getting resources from the princes, and in exchange, the British king was offering them protection from external aggression. So these princes had made treaties with the British king. These treaties came under the law of paramountcy. Now the British were leaving India, so what about these princely states? So when the cabinet mission declared that the Indians cannot get paramountcy and the princely states were free to choose their destiny, the princes started daydreaming about the creation of their own independent country. They said that paramountcy cannot be transferred to the Indian government of independent India, but that would be transferred to the states only. Now this caused a big problem. It is difficult to imagine the situation as we are used to seeing a complete homogeneous Republic of India. We can take a simple example. Say you are traveling from Delhi to Kanyakumari. Your travel would have never been so easy as of now, because you would have to travel through numerous states such as Rajputana, Bhopal, and Hyderabad, and Travancore. And at each destination you would have to take visa or permit to move ahead at every state. So within an independent nation, there would have been numerous independent states. That is more than 650 independent states, and you can imagine the mammoth difficulty in the administration for the Indian government. This was because of the law of paramountcy that was going to take back the princes and the kings to their original positions before the British arrival. Nobody had an answer to this grave situation. Naturally, wherever there was a challenge, there was Babasaheb. The more greater the challenge, the more greatly he was there, and the more greatly he produced solutions. So he studied the matter in detail and came out with solutions to the problem. Babasaheb clarified first that the decision of the cabinet mission that the crown cannot transfer the paramountcy was not a statement of political policy, but it was a statement of law. He asked the question that, is this a correct statement of law? He said that the cabinet mission didn't do anything new, but it just followed the Butler Committee. So they followed the guidelines of the Butler Committee that clarified about paramountcy in 1929. Babasaheb pointed out that why the Butler Committee did this was to please the princes who were already annoyed by the number of rules imposed on them. It was not directly mentioned anywhere, but clever Babasaheb found circumstantial evidences and various references, and said it was not difficult to imagine how tense would be the situation, and so to pacify the princes, such a thing was done. He gave the reference of a book known as History of English Law by Professor Holdsworth, who was considered as a renowned professor in the constitutional law area. However, Babasaheb explained that the recommendation of the Butler Committee themselves was not free from fault, and that Professor Holdsworth had to do lots of creativity to accommodate for the misinterpretations of the Butler Committee. So this was the first clue Babasaheb brought forward. He was amazed that no Indian student in studying the constitutional law area bothered to find this out. So because nobody had controverted this statement in the first place, it became the final and last word in that matter. And no doubt the cabinet mission adopted that as such. Further, he was astonished that even the Congress Working Committee, which was representing the Indian people and working for the rights, was not aware of that fault. They had accepted the terms meekly and didn't challenge the proposition. However, roared Babasaheb that nobody can snatch the rights of the Indian people to examine the matter from the very basic, and nobody could challenge that right. So how did he proceed to explain the matter? Theoretically, Professor Holdsworth was not wrong. He accepted the theory completely. However, he posed a different question and has given answer to that question. The question was whether the crown could cede or transfer the paramountcy to the Indian government. Babasaheb said that the proper question must be, can the Indian government claim the capacity to advise the crown on paramountcy? So Babasaheb clearly said we are not concerned with whether the paramountcy could be transferred. The real issue is how paramountcy can be exercised. In simple words, how you point out at a problem. Suppose I show you this handset and tell you that this mobile is mainly of black color. So everybody will start saying that yes, this is mainly of black color. But can I stop someone from flipping this handset and saying that no, it is golden in color? If somebody does that, I must not oppose it. But when I'm stressing that this side is black, and then people start accepting it. This is much more true when an influential and intelligent master speaks so, then the people forget there's another side to the matter. This means that a cabinet mission was showing this surface only and saying that no, paramountcy cannot be transferred. Whereas Babasaheb said that turn the object and look at it with a different angle. And then ask the proper question that can the Indian government claim the capacity to advise the crown on paramountcy? Now, what were his solutions? That depends upon the situations. That is, the first solution was whether if India acquires a dominion status. And the second solution is whether India gets complete independence. In the first solution, if India acquires a dominion status. Now, what is the dominion status? It is the almost independent country, but they just have to express their allegiance to the crown. The crown has two distinct prerogatives, that is, special rights. First is the ordinary prerogatives. The basis lies in the common law, and the law extends to all the subjects. And the second is the paramountcy prerogatives. The basis of prerogative arising out of paramountcy lies in the treaties supplemented by usage. So we deal only to the second, that is the paramountcy prerogatives. Being the prerogative of the king, the exercise of paramountcy is subject to that part of municipal law, which is called as law of constitution. According to the principles of constitutional law, while the prerogative vests in the king has no discretion in the exercise of his prerogatives, but can exercise only on the advice of his ministers. The king cannot exercise it independently, but only on the advice of his ministers. Now, which ministry? Advice of Ministry of the Dominion concerned. After the passing of the Statute of Westminster, which carved out Canada, Australia, South Africa, and Ireland as separate dominions, the Crown, in the exercise of the prerogative rights, acts on the advice of the Cabinet of the Dominion concerned. It is bound to do so. So when India becomes a Dominion, the Crown will be bound to act in the exercise of the prerogative rights. That is the paramountcy prerogatives, on the advice of the Indian Cabinet. Now, naturally, the Indian government will never tolerate so many independent countries within its boundary. They definitely would like to submerge them into the Union. So if they pass the bill, then they would have to tell the Crown, and the Crown has to listen. And in this way, the problem of the Indian states could come to an end. This is how the problem can be solved if India acquires a dominion status. The second condition is what will happen if India gets complete independence. Simple. The crown disappears and the question of advising the crown also disappears. Can independent India claim for the inheritance of the prerogative rights of the crown? The answer is yes. India would be a succession state, and as per the provision of international law, India can claim so. Babasaheb gave certain references on the matter, such as Oppenheim, who admitted that the succession state can inherit certain rights of the preceding state. Another reference was Hall's international law, which favors this inheritance. Now Babasaheb turned to the states. What was his advice to them? If they don't join the Indian Union, the Indian states would be sovereign states, but cannot be independent states so long as they remain under suzerainty. While the suzerainty remains, that they cannot become independent. India will not recognize them as an independent states, nor will any foreign country accord them the independent status. Even the United Nations organization will not recognize them. They will never give them assistance in the matter of external aggression. This prophecy we have seen soon turned true in case of Kashmir. Kashmir wanted to be an independent state, but it immediately faced external aggression, and nobody came for help. Such was the vision of Babasaheb. The only way by which the Indian states can be freed themselves from Paramountcy would be to bring about the merger of sovereignty with suzerainty. So he suggested them to stop the pursuit of the mirage of independence. They will not last 5 years also. The joining of the federation would definitely involve the introduction of a responsible government. But also the union will guarantee to the princes the rights relating to dynastic succession. Thus, in this too much complex problem, Babasaheb had given a clear picture and boosted the morale of Indians to claim for their genuine rights. Thank you. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat, Jai Samvidhan.